Hi, and welcome to another episode of Leading You. You don't make your boldest, most life altering decisions when life feels easy. You make them when your back is against the wall, when everything you've been juggling starts crashing down around you, and when clarity isn't an option, it's urgent. And today I want to take you into these moments, mine and maybe yours, because I believe the toughest moments don't break you, they reveal you. And when your back is against the wall, you have no choice but to fight, and you have no other option but to win. So let's start here. When life feels fine, or it feels normal, or it feels okay, we often delay change we know that we want to make. We delay stepping outside of our comfort zone. We delay taking bold moves. Instead, we justify. We people please because it's easy. We say yes when we mean to say no, and we stay busy enough not to feel the misalignment. But fine or okay is a trap. I'll say that again so we can take that ding out. But fine or okay is a trap. It lulls us into complacency. We avoid what we need to confront. And slowly we trade alignment for acceptance. We start living in response to what everyone else needs or expects, and we stop hearing ourselves. We stop tuning in to our intuition. And let's be honest, most people are not out there making bold, values aligned choices on a random, on a Tuesday when everything is ticking along, because we avoid rocking the boat until the boat looks like it's going to sink. And as humans, we do so much more to avoid pain, the hard, the painful, than we do to experience pleasure. And leaving a job that we hate or where we're treated like shit and not valued for our worth is the perfect analogy for this. And here's where it gets interesting. When the pressure hits, everything unnecessarily just burns away. It just melts away. Suddenly, you're not trying to juggle 16 things anymore. You're down to 3 priorities. And suddenly, these are the things that actually matter. Struggle forces simplicity, and that simplicity brings clarity, and it can bring it really quickly. And I've seen it in my own life, in my clients, in the people around me who have had to rebuild. You don't have to look far for stories about this. And I think everyone has a story about this in a different format. You know, if you have lived life, if you have taken risks, if you have stepped out of your comfort zone, the bandwidth shrinks, but the insight expands. And when you're in crisis, the choice is no longer what's best for everyone else. It becomes what is not negotiable for you. And here's the fascinating part. This is not just about mindset. This is not just about choosing to stay in your comfort zone and then your behaviors then reflect that. This is actually biology. And neuroscientists have discovered that pain and pleasure are processed in entirely different neuropathways. And what that means is your brain doesn't treat discomfort and joy as two ends of the same stick. They're processed separately. They are two different sticks entirely. So when you're avoiding discomfort, you're operating from an entirely different brain system than when you're choosing from joy or purpose. And you're in survival mode. And survival mode gets your attention fast. That's not weakness. That's a built-in spotlight on what truly matters. So, when I jumped out into my own business, there was a time not too far into it where I hit rock bottom. I was in financial distress. My personal life was also, you would say, in distress. Sort of everything around me felt like it was just falling apart. I've been avoiding a lot of big decisions because they felt too hard. And they felt really, really uncomfortable. Like I would have to really change my operating rhythm within my business to, I suppose, experience better results, if I'm honest. So I told myself I needed more time, that I needed more certainty, I needed more feedback, I needed to do more research. But the truth was I was scared. I was scared to change something that was working enough. I was scared to disrupt what I'd built. And then the numbers told a very different story. Suddenly, waiting was no longer an option. When you're scared to answer the phone because you think the bank is calling you, that's when you know that you are in big trouble. And the only way I could get myself out of that trouble was to do something about it. So suddenly waiting was no longer an option. And everything was on the line. Like my house, I was single. There was no other, additional income coming into the home that I could rely on. It was up to me. And when I am placed in that situation, the best in me comes out. Like I come out swinging and I come out fighting. So with my business, my reputation, my house, my legacy, and my future, in terms of staying within my own business or going back to get a job, was on that line. And I made a decision. And I made that decision not because I felt brave, but because I had no choice left except for the one that actually aligned me to my future. And it was one of the most defining moments and most defining decisions that I've ever made. And I wouldn't have made it without the pressure. I could have coasted along being fine. And then again, most recently, became the real wall. And that was when I had my health scare. One sentence changed everything. You have stage 3 melanoma cancer and it is aggressive. So you are in for the fight of your life. That changed everything for me. And this is really common when people are facing into a health crisis. It's amazing what can change when you're looking your mortality in the face. And from that moment, the noise was gone. Deadlines, emails, meetings, proving myself, feeling my diary, working with clients who were painful, doing things out of obligation, over-delivering, saying yes out of guilt. All of that dropped away without guilt. Because when your health crumbles, your priorities crystallize. Suddenly, what is essential isn't up for debate. You don't worry about disappointing others. You worry about disappearing from your life. I let go of so much. I let go of roles that outgrown, habits that drained me, that didn't serve me, relationships that didn't serve me. And I started leading myself differently because I had to, but also because I chose to. And it's one of the best decisions I've ever made, and one that I have continued now nearly 4 years later. So here's what I want you to hear from that. The wall doesn't mean you've failed. It can feel that way, but it certainly does not mean that you have failed. It means that something needs to shift. It's the universe's way of saying, hey, I'm putting this wall here, and you can either bounce off it or you can fall flat into it, pretty much. It's not a barrier. It can be that mirror that you so desperately need. And to that mirror where you can really look and see what is happening and make really aligned decisions from there. It's showing you what you've tolerated for too long. It's showing you, who you've been performing for far too long. It's showing you what matters most. And what matters most is that person looking back at you from that mirror, and it is you. So instead of fearing the edge, what if we welcomed it? What if you welcomed it a lot more readily than what you do now? So what if you stopped trying to crawl back to comfort, staying in your comfort zone because it feels all nice and warm and cozy, and you do what you do, you know what you do? What if you started using discomfort as a new compass, as your compass for leveling up, for stepping up, for creating the legacy that you want to be known for becoming the person that you want to be known for, rather than something that happens by chance? Empowered choice isn't about doing things wild or reckless. So I don't recommend creating chaos just because you want to feel discomfort. There needs to be a purpose behind it. So stepping out of your comfort zone towards a purpose can pull you forward, can really create that different dynamic in energy rather than being forced to do something. It's a much more empowering way to move forward. So it's about dropping the whole performance. It's about stopping the bullshit. It's about stopping lying to yourself, avoiding and blaming. It's about empowered choices. And those empowered choices are about alignment. They're fast, they're clear, and they're decisive alignment. So this might be, even in your business where you have employees taking the piss, like you're paying them really good money and they're not meeting your expectations. And these are your expectations because you're the leader. And there's KPIs that need to be met. You're not running a charity. You're paying people to do a role and to do it really well. This is about not tolerating relationships where people are taking advantage of you, where they're not seeing your value. This is about staying in a role within an organization where the culture is toxic, where your leader is not treating you well, where they're not seeing your worth, where you're feeling unseen and unheard. And you've done everything within your power to change it, but now you need to take action to move away from that. When your back is against the wall, you don't need a 10-step plan. You need one brave, honest move. And from there, you rebuild from truth, not from fear. And you move to leadership, not reaction. And you become the version of you that doesn't need to just survive the pressure. You grow from it. So I'll leave you with this question. What decision are you putting off until it gets painful enough to act? Because here's the truth. The moment is already here. And you might know that in your conscious or even your subconscious mind. You know that. You've had the inkling. You've had the conversations with yourself that your intuition is telling you. You already know what's not working. You're already feeling that misalignment. You're already being nudged. So you don't need to wait for the diagnosis or the burnout or the crisis. You can choose now. You can choose from clarity. You can choose from courage. You can choose for yourself. Because when your back is against the wall, you stop choosing fear and you start choosing from truth. And that's one of the most powerful decisions of all. So I encourage you to welcome the change. Welcome the discomfort. Welcome stepping outside of your comfort zone and feeling a bit of that pain to get to the pleasure you know that you want and you deserve. So thank you for tuning in. And I would love for you to share this podcast with those who you feel might need to hear this today. And also I'd love for you to rate and review, because by you doing that, by you taking, a couple of minutes to do that for me, it gets my podcast into more ears. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing you for another episode of Leading You.